this brings up a different question around, okay, so something happens when I'm 6, and it happens in a way where, because these things aren't happening in a vacuum inside of oneself, they're happening inside of a larger system of relationships. And in particular,
Yeah.
when you're a child, it's happening in the system of your parental ecology and your family unit and whatever sort of intimate relationships exist within and around that, which is of course nested in society and blah, blah, blah. But we'll
Yeah.
skip the big expansions here. But there's a process where as a child you're having these experiences, and it isn't safe on some level or another to feel these feelings in a way that they can finish themselves, that
Yeah.
that mom can bring self energy to my worthlessness so that I don't have to hide, and I can learn to bring self energy to my worthlessness by
Right.
mom showing me how, because I learn
Yeah.
non-conceptually by proxy to my primary caregivers.
You
But then
got it.
if that doesn't happen, something else, okay, so self runs away, exile holds the pain, all these protectors come in, and then for the rest of your life, now I'm 30, I'm 34, but I have this part of me that feels worthless, but that part of me is still 6 years old.
Yep.
And so
That's right.
every time it gets triggered and the protectors come out, even though I'm a 34-year-old man, I'm actually a 6-year-old child.
You're acting from a 6-year-old place in you.
Right. So then
Exactly.
and this is where maybe I'm asking too far out, but I
Okay.
suspect you've got this in mind. I don't think it's unfair to say that there are a lot of, I mean this sort of figuratively, there are a lot of 6-year-olds walking around.
Yep.
And and what in your mind, in your opinion, what does it mean to grow up and be an adult?
Yeah, like I think we all have a bunch of 6-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds in us because of our life experience. Okay. So I think that's normal. There's a lot of crazy teenagers driving in Boston, Massachusetts. I'll tell you that, yelling and screaming and flipping people off when they're driving in the rotary, for example. So people are in their parts a lot, okay, in their parts. What do I think it means to be an adult? I'm going to go a little spiritual on you, honestly, because I think what it means to be an adult is to be able to be with our experiences and to be able to be in self energy and learn and grow through our human experiences. So it's really impossible, in my view, to live unscathed here in our human experiences. I think we're here to experience things, to go through adversity, to have pain, to experience pain. And I think our job as an adult is to work on it and heal it and grow and evolve. Okay, I'm a much more present, evolved person at 56 than I was when I was 18 or 34 or 7. And I think that's what we're here for. I think that's what our human experience is here for, is to learn and grow from our adversity. And, there are people that take advantage of that and do grow and learn and evolve. And there are people that don't. And when you don't, you keep reliving it. Okay. So I think we all have choice. This is where, for me, choice and free will comes in. I can either take advantage. I mean, I'm a trauma expert who's had a lot of trauma. Okay. And I really feel good about the fact that I've worked hard to heal my trauma. And I've grown and evolved enormously. I'm such a different person than I used to be because I've taken advantage of being able to do this work, and evolve and grow. And, I can handle things in a very different way than I did before because of the work I've done, because of the trauma that I've chosen to work through.
So now I kind of, I think I want to push back a little bit here, but maybe not
Yeah,
actually push back from what you
go ahead.
mean, but from what
Sure.
like an inconsistency of the things that you're saying, which is when I think about somebody that has really deep trauma, like this, like I chose to grow up, essentially is what you're saying. And I respect that. And I see that. I feel like I chose to grow up too. And I also recognize that there were times in my life where that choice was not an option. And I also recognize that the assertion from those whom have the choice readily available to them onto those who perceivably do not have that choice, because that choice was taken away from them, either because the trauma is so intense, it was taken away from them by the people who, like contributed to the context that gave the trauma, or because they're more vulnerable populations, or they live in systemic racism or classism, that choice, like, really, at least perceivably, it's not that it doesn't exist, it is just nowhere reachable from here. So I'm just curious about, like, is there times in our lives where it's not a choice?
Totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, kids don't have a choice. Okay, let's start there. Adults have choice, kids don't. Kids are dependent. Kids don't have a choice. I mean, there was a silly little movie once upon a time where the kid was able to file divorce from the parent. Like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, kids don't have that option. Kids are stuck in a situation and they're vulnerable and they don't have choice. When we become adults, we have more free will and choice. Okay, so yeah, there are times when we don't have choice, and there are circumstances within our life where we're persecuted, where we're violated, where it's not even an equal. I mean, be a woman in the world, for Pete's sakes. Be a gay man in the world. You're not equal, but you have a choice to work and heal and grow as a person. Okay. I've been doing that all along. It doesn't mean I'm equal in culture and society, but I can choose to work on the fact that I've been violated. I can choose to heal, the ways that I've been abused and mistreated as being gay or whatever it is. So there is, and I think everybody has been violated in some way. I think that's part of the human experience is living life's adversity in some way. So I think it's inherent in all of us, whatever it is. You can talk about big T, small t trauma. But there are people that constantly stay in the reliving. Okay. And this is, for me, what IFS offers all of us. That's why I think about it as a paradigm for living. I can stay in hoping somebody else will do this, or I can access my self energy, that resource in me, and I could heal this. So this is the way that I think of it. We're all given the gift of the capacity to heal whatever adversity we've been through. And nobody's adversity free. I just don't believe that. I think we all have versions of that.
Right, right. And that capacity is different depending on different life contexts. And what you're suggesting is that although, the type of choice and the capacity, or the things to which I have capacity to affect with my choice vary depending on different situations, that in every situation you have some choice that's determined by your contextual resources, and you can choose to lean into growing up. It's a guy I had on a long time ago talking about conscious relationships. His name was Jesso Phoenix. I think it was like episode 10 or something, right? Like, this is almost 120. And and he had said, like, in every moment we have a choice to either to recede into our smallness or step into our greater context.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is that we're always moving relative to our contextual resources. And yet in that, we always have an option to recede into our smallness or to step into our grander context.